welcome back everybody. This is lesson 7.1, ratios and unit rates. We will be going through the notes pretty quickly today, so make sure that you are using the pause and rewind feature if I'm going too fast. Our goal today, learn what ratios and rates are and learn how to write and simplify them. So on your notes, we have a place there for definitions. We're going to write these definitions in our notes. Ratio. A ratio is a comparison of two quantities by division. And this will make a little bit more sense to us once we start to show some examples, but I'll give you a little bit of time to write that down. And then we will talk about equivalent ratios, and then we'll do some examples to show what that means. So ratios that make the same comparison are equivalent ratios. And we have an example down here of what we're talking about here. We're going to talk about comparing the dark colored squares to the white squares. And both of these examples, and we're going to compare them to see what they end up being. So in my first shape here on the left, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 that are dark, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that are light. So my ratio would be 7 to 5. Now you can write ratios in different ways, and we're going to talk about those different ways later on in our notes. But for now, we're just going to write it as a fraction, 7 to 5. 7 white ones, or 7 dark ones, and 5 white ones. We're going to come over here to this other shape. Notice the shaded area is the same size in both of the examples, the dark shaded area. And then the white area is also the same size. So let's take a look at this one. We'll count it up. We're going to count the dark shaded ones first. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2 rows of 8 make 16. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28 that are shaded. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 that are not shaded. So now we have two ratios comparing 7 to 5, 28 to 20. If we were to simplify both of these down to their lowest terms, which this one already is, 7/5, and we simplify this one down to lowest terms, divide by 4, I get 7, divide by 4, I get 5, they have the exact same simplified, so those would be considered equivalent ratios. They're the same simplified both ways. And you can notice in the picture that they represent the same comparison, dark to light. Oh wait, on this one, to find equivalent ratios. So they're going to give us a ratio, and they're going to ask us to find equivalent ratios. So we're going to multiply or divide both numbers by the same number. To do that, so an example, here's another way to write a ratio, and we're going to once again talk about those later, but you can write a ratio like this, 10 to 15. So I want to give two examples of equivalent ratios. So my first example, I'm going to multiply both numbers by the same thing. I'm going to multiply them both by 2. So I'm going to multiply by 2, and I'm going to get 20 to 30. That would be an equivalent ratio. I could also divide by 5, and I would get 2 to 3. So all three of those, 10 to 15, 20 to 30, and 2 to 3 are all equivalent ratios. They all represent the same amount. All right, on this next page, lots of information. We're going to do a lot of definitions and a lot of word stuff first, and then we'll get into the actual examples here in a little bit. So ratios that are equivalent are said to be proportional or in proportion. Equivalent ratios are identical when they are written in simplest form. So when you write them in simplest form, you reduce them down to their lowest terms, they will be identical. So moving on, a rate. Okay, a rate is a ratio of two quantities that have different units. They are equivalent if they have the same value. Once again, same value. We're going to look at a couple examples of what rates might look like. Miles per hour, drops per gallon. When we do a rate, we do things such as 36 miles per gallon, or 26 drops per gallon, or 36 miles per hour, whatever our rate would be, we have two different units that we're using, and we're comparing them. So moving down here, a unit rate, it's a little bit more of a specialized kind of a rate, and a rate that has a denominator of 1. So in my example that I did up here, my denominator was 1, 36 miles in 1 gallon. So to find that, you divide the numerator by the denominator, and we are going to do examples of that later on in our notes. So that should be the first page. We're going to go ahead and turn over to the back page of our notes. And here we have ways of writing ratios. This is what I was talking about earlier, how there's different ways you can write them. One way, and this is what probably most often if you see in real life, like with paint, or if you see it on chemicals that you're spraying weeds in your yard, they're a lot of times going to write it with a colon. So in this example, it would be 90 to 3. So for every 90 parts of water that I put in there, I would put 3 parts of the spray. So 90 to 3. Now I could simplify that to make it a little bit better. It'd be actually 30 to 1. I could write it also with a fraction bar. So I can do a 90 to 3 as a fraction. I read it the same way, 90 to 3. I could simplify this one, 30 to 1. And then the last way that I can do it is using the word 2. Like I've been saying it, 30 to 1, 30 to 1. I can also write it with the word 2 in there. And I'm going to simplify this one down to 30 to 1. All right. Now, so here's, we're going to practice a little bit. The problem says an outlet mall has 36 clothing stores, 6 footwear stores, 4 craft stores, and 20 specialty shops. Write the ratio of clothing stores to specialty shops in 3 ways. Well, we're going to write it out as a fraction first. We're just going to write it as a fraction. My fraction of clothing stores comes first because in the sentence it says clothing stores to specialty shops. So my clothing stores would be 36. My specialty shops would be 20. Now I'm going to simplify that fraction. Simplify by dividing both sides by 4. So 36 divided by 4 is 9. 20 divided by 4 is 5. So my fraction, my ratio then would be 9 to 5. And it says to write it in 3 ways. So I'm going to write it 9 to 5 with the word 2 and 9 to 5 with the colon. So I've got it as a fraction with the word 2 and with the colon. All 3 showing the exact same thing. Always read either from top to bottom or from left to right. So the next one, write the ratio of craft stores to footwear shops. Craft stores I have 4. Footwear shops I have 6. So I'm going to simplify that down, becomes 2/3. I can write it as a fraction. I'm going to write it 2 to the 3 with the word 2 and 2 to 3 with the colon. Same thing for the bottom one down here. Write the ratio of specialty shops. I have 20. And I have craft stores 4. 20 to 4 simplifies down to 5 over 1. Or you could just call it 5. Well, 5 to 1, if we're doing ratios, we really want to put that 1 down there on the bottom. And I would read it as, with the word 2, as 5 to 1, with a colon, 5 to 1. Moving on. Here's another example for us to try. A clown is carrying 9 red balloons, 10 blue balloons, and 6 yellow balloons. The ratio of red to yellow, red is 9, yellow is 6. Simplify down, becomes 3 to 2. And I could write it 3 to 2 or 3 to 2. The next one, ratio of yellow to blue. Yellow is 6, blue is 10. Simplify becomes 3 to 5. 3 to 5, 3 to 5. And red, blue to red, I have 10 blue, and I have 9 red. That one cannot be simplified, so I just leave it like that, 10 to 9. Or 10 to 9. And blue to yellow, blue would be 10, yellow is 6, simplifies down to 5 to 3, so then I do 5 to 3 and 5 to 3. Those are the 3 ways that I could write those. Notice here I had yellow to blue and blue to yellow. I'm using the same colors, but my answers are different because I have to use what they ask in the problem to get my answer there. All right, we're going to skip this one. Go here. Now, finding unit rates. We talked about the definition of a unit rate earlier. The denominator means it has to be 1. So this says write 33 gallons per 8 minutes as a unit rate. Well, my directions here tell me I'm going to divide the numerator by the denominator. So my 33 gallons over my 8 minutes, then I would take the numerator divided by the denominator, top in, bottom out. 33 divided by 8. 8 goes in there 4 times. 8 goes into 10 1 time. 8 goes into 22 times. 8 goes into 45 times. So my answer then, I have to include units here, 4.125 gallons per minute, because it's 1 minute. When I divided it out, I was finding what it would be for 1 minute. Now, it's one of those places where they don't put the 1 in there. You don't hear your car gets 36 gallons per 1 mile, or miles per 1 gallon. They say miles per gallon. They don't include that 1 in there. So it's one of those places where you have a hidden 1. All right, a couple more examples. Write the rate as a unit rate. 168 students divided by 7 classes. Just divide it right out and then label it. 100, oops, I need to use a different color. 168 divided by 7. It goes in there 2. 7 goes into 28 4 times. So my answer would be 24 students per class. And if I wanted to put that 1 class, I could put 1 class, 24 students per class. This one here, same thing, negative 252. I can just write 252 divided by 3. 8, 4. So I'd get 84, negative 84, because I have a negative divided by positive, so it's negative 84 feet per second. Come down here, 57 hours and 38 days. Same exact thing, 57 divided by 38. Goes in there 1. And it goes in there 5 times. So it'd be 1.5 hours per day. And this is just like my ratios. 1.5 hours to 1 day. 24 students to 1 class. Negative 84 feet per 1 second. Coming on here, 430, do the same one. $430 divided by 40 hours, I can figure out how much money I'm going to make per hour. It goes in there 1 time. And then we have, well, 40 goes into 30 0 times. Then drop down the 0 here. 40 goes in there 7 times. 280. 210, 75. Works out evenly. So it'd be $10.75 per hour. That's not too bad. All right, so those are the examples of finding unit rates. On the bottom of each one of these, my denominator would be 1, but I don't write that 1 in there because it just sounds silly. All right, so today's assignment, page 345 to 347, 3 through 10 all, 20 through 30 even, and 46. Make sure that you simplify if possible. All right, until next time, this is Mr. Keller, and thanks for listening. Good luck. Please let me know if you have any questions.